Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is March 15th, and you are listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. And today we are talking about Descript, Descript. Descript has been around for a long while, and they've made some improvements like most other companies. They've put a lot of AI and thought into what they've done. It seems like they have not maybe recently, but they've sort of merged with another company that was already doing podcasts. And so they're really trying to become this all-in-one editing video solution. And so we want to give you our sort of honest feedback of where we kind of feel like the tool is today. How valuable is it to a business or an individual editor? All the good things. So today we got Robert, Jyunmi, Eran, and I'm Brian. And I think the four of us will be the ones holding it down for this review. So I guess before we get into any like screen sharing or anything like that, guys, let's just kind of give our overall impressions of, maybe where we used Descript in the past and what, how we look at it today. Anything like that, just to kind of get the conversation started.
Sure. So I've had the program for a couple of years. And to be honest, I didn't really like it to start with. The main reason I initially bought it was the ability to transcribe the spoken word and then edit with it. So for those of you who don't know Descript, you transcribe your video or your audio, and then to edit the stuff you don't want, you just select the words in the transcript and delete them. It's just like using a Microsoft Word doc. And so I definitely struggled with using it in the early days because the transcription wasn't great and my Australian accent didn't help. It's still not fabulous in my accent, but it's getting better. But I'll tell you what, in the last 12 months or so, it has really become probably one of the top 2 or 3 software applications I use all the time because it's so much better now and I can do heaps more than just basic video editing. And if you ever wanted to edit a talking video, someone talking on a video and you didn't know what to do, this is like the easiest program. If you can use Microsoft Word, you can use Descript. So that's just my starting thoughts on it.
So what is it? What is your go-to for this, Eran? What do you use it for? You mentioned if you're looking to edit video and audio. So what is it your go-to? Like what do you like about it that others don't do as well?
Okay, so before I used Descript, I was a Camtasia user and have been for 18 or 15 years now. And, after a certain time, you get used to it. Most of the video editing I do is video content for marketing purposes. So it's usually people talking, and it's just so much quicker and easier to edit talking head videos than it is using Camtasia. It's not as flexible in a few things, but that's really I guess that's the primary thing I use for is just I can take a client's video and throw it into Descript and I can, like, for example, I can go, okay, I want to get rid of all the ums and the ahs. Well, there's an option in there. Select, delete, boom, they're gone. You don't have to muck around with any of that. That's great. There's so much more I can do than that. One of the other things I use it for is one client in particular. I use it to create the AI voice for her videos. So her AI videos that I do like 15 of them a month for, she's never available to record anything for me. So we basically cloned her voice in Descript, and I write the script and I put it into Descript and it turns into AI. I clean it up, throw it into Agent, and in
so go back a second. You say you clone her voice in Descript. Talk about that.
Yeah. So Descript's got AI voices built into it, but they've also now given you the option to clone your own voice. Now, I will say it's, from my perspective as an Australian, it's not great. It's still pretty monotone. I suspect you Americans might get a better result out of it, but it used to be that you had to upload 10 minutes of speaking or even half an hour. Now you can do it in like a 30-second thing. You just go click, 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 talk for 30 seconds, and it takes a couple of minutes and your voice is cloned. Again, not fabulous. Mine sounds very monotone. I'll give you an example of it when I do a demo later on. But they're probably the main things that I do with it is just talking editing and creating voiceovers, which I then turn into videos, which I then bring back into Descript, put captions on, and just add logos, make them look sexy.
So given all the different solutions out there for creating voiceover audios based on somebody's voice, you feel like Descript does a good job of cloning somebody's inclinations, is the right word?
Intonations.
Intonations. I was like incantations, but that's a witchery. So
Yeah.
like,
Look at that. That's an interesting question, Robert. I suspect that 11 Labs would probably be better.
Mm.
But I come back to the fact that, at least for me, the Australian accent side of it is still, it's not great, nowhere near as good as I would like it to be. But having said that, I pay for the pro account on 11 Labs, and my voice still doesn't sound great. My voice clone there doesn't sound great. So
that's what my
it's
follow-up
probably not going to be right for a lot of people. I wouldn't buy it just for voice cloning, but it just happens to be that it works for one client in particular.
Gotcha.
That's going to be my follow-up question. Is it in your opinion, for what you have, as good at 11 Labs, or would you still say 11 Labs is like, I kind of feel like they still are the gold standard for me, but is Descript close enough with their voice cloning?
No, I like that face you just made.
Let's say for an American accent. For American, would you say?
Well, see, I don't have any clients in America that I'm doing this sort of stuff for at the moment, so I don't know. So, maybe I'll get one of you guys to do a recording for me one day and I'll test it. But
yeah.
At the moment, if I had to choose between the two just for voice cloning, I would probably still go with 11 Labs because it's just got more flexibility and power. One positive that Descript has in that respect is, depending what kind of plan you're on, you can do a lot of voice content, like turn text into voice, probably a lot more for your dollar than you can in 11 Labs.
And also, I think there's a lot of value to, the way even Descript describes it is like, if you misspoke, you can switch out the word and it'll sound like you. And that's actually pretty cool, because think of all the times I'll just say me, all the times I've said Gemini Advanced and I meant Gemini Pro, or I meant, like, you know what I mean? And so if we wanted to, being able to go back through there and just have something that can clone my voice close enough to say Pro instead of Advanced in a stream of words.
Let me tell you a very short, funny story about that. I have not yet figured out how to make that feature work. I wish I did know how, but I'm doing something wrong somewhere, so I'm going to have to keep looking into that one. That sounds like an awesome thing. I just haven't figured out how to make it work. So,
which leads to me to my main point, or my takeaway from Descript. I have had a pro version, paid version of it for 4 months, 5 months. I don't use it all the time. I use it for a very specific use case. And I find it, the UI or the user interface or it's not intuitive. It's not a software program that I can jump in and use right away. They didn't make it very well. For example, I created a project and I wanted to upload the audio. I wanted to transcribe it. The button to transcribe the audio isn't what you think it is. It isn't like, click here to transcribe this audio. You think that's what it would be. Transcribe this audio. Nope. I don't even know what it was. I've forgotten now what it was. It was not anything intuitive. So that's an example. Of course, I'm very, very beginner usage. And this is kind of back to Greg's, one of our commenters' points. It's powerful but frustrating, he says. So I would agree. I think it's powerful. I guess it's powerful, but I haven't been able to extrapolate or extract use out of it as much as I'd like. It does what I wanted to do, which, for those who want to know, I'm a deacon out of and I have to provide the minutes of every meeting. And there's like 6 of us. And so I put my phone in the middle of the room and record the audio. And it's really good at saying, well, this is Bob speaking. This is Robbie speaking. I can assign each audio person based on what it picks up as that person's, and I did this because it was such a long 2-hour meeting that I couldn't use other sources for that. Right. So I couldn't, I'm obviously, if it's on an iPhone, I don't know, what do I do with it? I could, I guess, throw it into Zoom. I don't know. But so I landed on Descript as a solution to this, and it does a good job of doing the transcript and assigning the right people and whatnot. So,
yeah, look, I agree with you and Greg, that the interface is not great. I've kind of picked it up enough from an editing point of view. Like, if you're used to using a video editor like Camtasia, for example, the timeline and all of that, the what's the word, where you store all your files and then manipulate them, it's super basic and very, like, if you go from, even Camtasia is not considered to be a professional video editor. If you go from that to Descript and you expect it to be similar, you'll be sadly disappointed. Sometimes I have to pull a file out of Descript, put it into Camtasia, and fix up weird little issues. But for my purposes, and obviously the fact that I know how to use it now, it's great. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah, and I think this brings in probably where Jyunmi, you can come into this too, because you do a lot of I would say more professional level video editing, producing. You do a lot of it for our show and create our YouTube shorts and all those kind of things. So you're heavily into this. I will say I'm not at your level. At my point, at one point in my life, I was using Adobe Premiere Pro daily for a lot of stuff. So that's kind of where my background was. And then I did have Descript and I did pay for it for quite some time, but I was doing like much shorter, like 30-second videos and stuff. And I agree with you guys. Number one, it was annoying to me that I had to download it to my computer. I mean, it's fine, but like that was annoying. I work on PCs. I also agree with Robert. Like it wasn't super intuitive on where I needed to go to the left menu and drop down to find stuff. I will say, and we can get into this a little bit later in the conversation when we share some screens. I already do like the web version of it better. The one that just opens up in Chrome, super intuitive, not a problem at all. I can see exactly where my actions are, and it gives me a lot of choices for the script I have. And you'll see in my example, I literally put yesterday's show in there. And funny note on that real quick, Eran, you talked about it getting rid of the ums and ahs. So I said, find all the ums and ahs. This is yesterday's show. And it found 117 of them. So I said, delete them all. And it moved the show from like just over 40 minutes to like 38 and a half. And I said, we have a minute and a half of just ums and ahs. That's a lot of dead space, a lot of, So anyway, it made me laugh yesterday. And, we could talk more about whether that sounds natural. And maybe that's a great way to kick it off over to you, Jyunmi. What's your take on Descript? And here's my follow-up question when you get into this. Is it good enough for the professional podcast editor? Or is this really more for the, I don't say at home, but for the maybe, yep, I'm putting out podcasts. Yep, I'm doing this for my business. This is something I'm doing. But is it good enough to then turn around, be a consulting agency and charge somebody $400 an hour using Descript? Would they still be using it? And however you're going to talk about this, this is one of my questions for you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'll do a little bit of pushback. I prefer the desktop version than the web version, but I also prefer all desktop software versions than web version. The responsiveness on web versions is just too slow for me. I want to be able to switch between contextual menus and, regular mouse clicking through things and, keyboard shortcuts that I'm familiar with, not being affected by which browser I use and what my internet connection is. So I'll start off with that. Now, my overall assessment of Descript, I used it a few months ago when we first really got into it. And it was great for doing specific things, right? Because we didn't see these particular tools or these particular AI powered tools or features in a more, we'll say, traditional or professional editor like Adobe Premiere and things like that. And overall, Adobe's been playing a lot of catch up, which we can talk about later. So I was using it for the captioning. That was the number one feature I liked right out the bat.
Captioning live or captioning after the fact?
After the fact. This is all post-production.
Okay.
But captioning it at the time was far easier, and for the most part is far easier in a tool like Descript than it is in a professional editor like Premiere. Mainly because that's kind of the bread and butter, was transcribe and convert to captions. So that's how I used it originally.
So do you feel like, a lot of those platforms, YouTube and TikTok, they already do automatic captioning. Do you think those are substandard compared to Descript? Is that why?
I would call that more like YouTube's closed captioning. Not it's not translation.
It's automatically. That's the big problem.
Yeah. So with a platform like YouTube, if you're just looking to have closed captioning done for your video, eventually it will process, and yes, you'll have those auto-generated captions. But if you're looking to do repurposing, if you're looking to make a splash on social media or something that's more attention grabbing, like for TikTok or, Instagram or anything like that, or even YouTube, you want to do your own captioning, right? And we've seen it all. We've seen like the Hermosi template and the Mr. Beast template where they have highlighted, captions and all those kinds of things. That isn't done by the platform automatically. You have to have that feature built in, and each platform has a preferred thing. Like TikTok has CapCut, because that's their program or their application. But Descript has that as part of their basic feature set, and so that's kind of what I was drawn to it. But again, because it is their main incentive for getting your higher subscription rate, you're limited, right? You can only do so much at the regular level, and then you get unlimited with the pro level and things like that. So all of these AI tools are kind of based on how much upload minutes or credits, and this all comes down to the amount of compute that needs to be done and things like that. And I think that's going to be the key balance until something like Premiere comes through and says, "Oh yeah, we're just going to add this feature in." And they've recently added text editing, so you can edit by text. Now,
do we think that, I'm just real quick, do you think that YouTube will basically, for lack of a better word, add a Descript to the YouTube editing? Like, is Descript, like, do they really have a moat here? Because I kind of agree with you, by the way, Jyunmi. Like, to me, Descript was the first one that had something that looked like inline text editing for video. I don't personally remember seeing it before Descript. It was new, it was novel. They definitely were trying to have a different aesthetic and different design. They didn't want it to look like a Camtasia, whatever. So, but now I see it in Adobe, although I kind of feel like they were late to the game, and I see it in other places where this is like a Descript-like feature is showing up. So I don't know. Is there a mode here?
A mode? I'm not exactly sure. I don't see anything that they offer that isn't either being offered in other applications or being developed in those other applications. Like, I just got a notification from Opus Pro that their version 2 of their editor, which is primarily text edit, is they're adding pretty much all of those timeline features that you see in Descript in their online editor, right? And that's not just something that they're doing. That's what everybody's doing, right? So you gotta wonder, is like, okay, where's the competition going to be taking it, right? Are they going to be improving it across the board? But I don't see a mode. And once the incumbents like Adobe get off their butts and really go after it, I don't know why they just don't buy these guys and integrate it.
Yeah, I was going to say there might be on the purchased list, I would say. I mean,
exactly.
You need to know the software, yeah.
Even with the 30 or 50 million. What's that?
Well, Descript bought or has partnered or bought the podcast platform. That's the name is escaping me at the moment, but clearly,
right. So we
can't think of what it's called. I just saw it on my screen. I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, they're taking. It seems like they're getting rid of that name anyway and just going with Descript as a podcasting platform, which is interesting. Not to get off topic, but anyway, go ahead, Jyunmi.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, my next point was that they you can see the direction that they're going, right? It's that whole Netflix HBO comment. Netflix wants to be HBO before HBO becomes Netflix. It's the same kind of thing with Descript. Descript wants to become Adobe, or at least in this realm, before Adobe becomes them, right? So it's all a race to get to those features and get enough people in. And
thank you, Cindy. You're the best.
Cindy.
Squadcast. Thank you.
So, but an overall assessment is, I think what we're looking at is we're looking at two distinct tracks here. One is what I'll call the Canva, Adobe Express, and Descript track, right? Which is, here are the most common things people want, right? And they don't want to have to go through the process of sending it to the the post-production process. They just want to create their main things, redo it, and do it quickly, right? So that's going to be one track. And then the other track will be the nitty gritty. I want to do my L and J cuts, and I want to tweak my audio wave files and all that kind of stuff. And that'll be that track. So I think in the realm of these, we'll call it fast post-production work applications, Descript's got a pretty good pretty good path on there. They've got funding from OpenAI for the last couple of years. They got like a $30 million, fund for like a Series B or Series C or something like that. And so they've got monetary backing.
Wow.
We see big feature introductions into them, making choices like grabbing Squadcast. And that kind of all fits into their realm. So, so while I don't see necessarily that they have a moat, I think they are one of the leaders. And so as long as they keep innovating and adding those features, people are going to stay. But as soon as someone else comes in with a better deal, they're not going to have that much, loyalty there, I think.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
And
I want to get to Aaron. I want to get to yours in just a second. The only thing I say to that, Jimmy, before we go to share screens here is like I would say, Jimmy, and this is probably a conversation for off this show, but like here's where I was at with Descript when I really dug into it over the last couple of days. I said, you know what? If Descript with Squadcast, which now is really just Descript, if they had live publishing ability, the way we have here on StreamYard, we use StreamYard for anybody that's curious. We use StreamYard and we publish live directly to LinkedIn every day, and we publish live directly to YouTube. Now, Jimmy, you go back and do some editing and clean some things up, and we put out more polished versions. But what you're hearing, if you're listening to us on any podcast platform right now, is literally the live thing. And we've talked off camera about the audio quality, right? And just kind of trying to dial that in and things like that. So I will just say, and I'm curious just to get your quick answer on this, Jimmy, before we jump to Eran, is let's say that they had a direct API or just an easy connection to YouTube Live and LinkedIn Live, which are sort of requirements for us. Is Descript a viable alternative to StreamYard and what we're currently doing? Because I kind of think they are.
If Descript integrates fully all of OBS features, because it's all open source.
What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
So OBS is an open source live streaming studio, video recording studio, right? Lots of bells and whistles, lots of knobs you can turn. So it has a higher learning curve, but it's very powerful. But the fact that it's open source, and if they can integrate something like that into their app, yes, there's a very big play. Now they've already shown that they're willing to merge with a group like Squadcast. I would say have them look at Restream, have them look at StreamYard, have them look at these big players that have integrations into all of the platforms already, and see if there's some sort of partnership there. And if there's anyone that you can acquire just one of those. I mean, I'm not sure Riverside FM, but any of those, if you can find any of those, because they all have the basic same tech, right? It's just how they implement it in terms of studio access and things like that. But yeah, if you can acquire any of those kinds of things or that feature set from an open source application, then they can run with it. I think that would be huge, because that would solve, like for our particular case, we would be the ideal customer, because that would solve a whole bunch of our stuff. And if I could just pay $30 a month to have access to all of that instead of doing this and that and all the other pieces, absolutely. Especially,
and you could have a team account.
AI features, like the recent feature they just did in the March 4th update was find all highlights. That's like, that's clipping. They had like find good clips. You can find all highlights. You can chapter everything and all those kinds of things. So I'm going a little deep into it, but yes, absolutely. Restream Squadcast Descript would be a fantastic combo.
Yeah, guys, you should. I appreciate our viewer Miss Cindy to mention Squawk, because I've been going over their website. Like, man, that makes it really easy for what we could do to repurpose some of our podcasts. So yeah,
it's the only thing that's missing, Robert, is the ability to go live, like, which is what we use StreamYard for, right? Like, it's a big part of our show for it to drive live to LinkedIn Live, because this is how we get our comments. So we need that. We can't let that go. So it's interesting to see if there's some sort of API player there, whatever, because just for our general audience, guys, we talk about this stuff all the time. That's why we bring it to you guys. Like, if we're talking about it, we're also dealing with it. We don't have all the bells and whistles and everything buttoned up. We are talking all the time about how we can further optimize using AI our process for this show. It's got a lot of moving parts. We didn't necessarily start out that way, but we're growing. The show is growing, and it's got a lot of moving parts to it. And we're naturally, like anybody else, going, okay, where could we make it slightly better here? AKA the audio, right? We talked about that. You know, how can we make a consistent sound for all our podcast platforms so it sounds really, really nice? And like we all are having $500 microphones. Well, Descript has a feature for that. You know, so I don't know. There's a lot there. Okay, I don't want to go too far into this. Eran, do you want to go ahead and share your screen, and then after you do yours, I'll do a quick demo on my side, and then we'll take it from there.
Let me choose the right screen. Share system audio on. Okay. Right. So just before I go into the demo, I'll just quickly say that my use case, what I do, I have to move in and out, and there's a lot of moving parts with me creating videos in combination with AI Voice and HeyGen and Descript. If it was all in one thing, I could do it simply, I would move in an instant. So, much as I love Descript, if I found a better solution, I would move. And I'm sorry, guys at Descript, just make it better. So anyway, what I'm going to show you quickly is a 5-second demo of a video, one of my HeyGen videos. It's natural voice recording. So I've pre-recorded my voice. So I'll just play 5 seconds of that, and then I'll show you how I actually make an AI video out of Descript. So just give us a sec. How would you like to be able to create a video of yourself every day for the next 365 days without ever having to go in front of a camera, write and perfectly deliver your script, mess around with microphones, lighting, and video editing? Sorry. Okay, so that's first things first. I edit the video, put the captions in at the bottom. I'll stick some sort of branding thing in. That's nice and simple. So let's just go back, and I'm going to show you just do here. So I'm going to create a project, and I'm going to create an AI voice version. So up the top there, as the guy said, not very intuitive. You can do a video project, an audio project. You can record yourself and or screen, etc., or remote recording, which I'm assuming is tied in with Squadcast and overview. So I'm just going to do an audio project. And what I'm going to do is I've got my little friend ChatGPT here. So I said to ChatGPT, please write me a 100-word voiceover script discussing 3 ways to improve the quality of your ChatGPT prompts. Most important if you ever do that, because it'll give you scene instructions, which is a pain when you want to plug it into Descript. So I just say, do not include scene instructions. Just give me the words that must be spoken. So we've got the little collection there. Let's just copy that. Go back to Descript and just, come on, let me paste in. There we go. Paste, and I'll just get rid of the... So at the moment, pretty boring, nothing much to it. So what you do is you then go to this add speaker option, and you can you got default speakers that come with Descript, or you can add your own different ones. So I've got multiple different ones. I've been experimenting, trying to come up with better ones. I still don't love them, but anyway. And I've got a couple of client ones in there as well. So I'm just going to use, I think, let's just try this one. It doesn't really matter which one I choose. So what happens, you select it. And what it does is it takes the text and it feeds it back up the web to Descript. Descript's probably using OpenAI's Whisper, I'm guessing, takes that text, turns it into a voice file, sends it back down. It takes 30 seconds or so.
How do you add a speaker? How did you is that somewhere else in the software?
Yeah, so I can briefly show you that after this if you like. It's pretty simple process to do, actually. But again, as I said, I'm not crazy in love with the quality of the AI voice when I'm cloning my voice and other Australian voices. You guys in the US may have better bang for buck, so you know have to kind of test that one yourself. So it just blinks in and out while it's doing it, and then it'll pop up a little download window here, which we'll go to in a sec. So while it's doing that, you know, some of the other things you can do is, as the guys said, we can do captions. You do have a timeline. You can do some really basic editing with it. It's very simplistic. But I guess for me, one of the good things about this product is that just about anybody could use it if they've never used a video editor before. That's important. So, boy, it's taken a long time.
If that's only for one paragraph, imagine if you had a whole.
No, it's normally faster than that.
It could be because you're streaming at the same time, though.
Yeah, it's probably exactly.
Yeah.
I would say there you go, downloading media, 3.2 megs, 2.2, and then once it goes solid again, it's ready to go. So now let's just play that. Welcome to the world of advanced AI interaction. Today, let's unlock the secrets to enhancing your chat experience with 3 key strategies. First, specificity is your superpower. So as you can see,
that is not bad. I'm sorry, that's that. I know you know your voice, but it's
okay. Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not your perfect accent, but it does pick up the accent, and you can tell that it's Australian. I think it was pretty good.
Yeah,
we've definitely come a long way in the last 6 to 9 months. I'll say.
Oh yeah, it used to be terrible. But I mean, when I'm doing this, normally for the client I most commonly do this for is normally about a 3 or 4 minute video. And I'm doing like 15 of the month. So I have to go through and do things like, if you heard there where it tried to speak the word chat experience, and it just didn't even say it. So you've got to do things like
GPT, it pronounced
spaces,
it.
And for example, where I'm putting telephone numbers in, I have to write the numbers. If it doesn't say them the way I want it to say them, I have to write the numbers in as words rather than numbers. And then when I go back and do the editing for the captions, you just grab, let's say I don't like that word. Well, actually, let's see if it'll let me do it. It might not. Don't know why. There's one option there where you can, that's why, because it's already transcribed rather than me having to transcribe. So there's an option there. You can click a word or a couple of words. You can open up and correct it. So I'll select the phone number side of it in the text and then just write it in as the proper number for the captions. And when it plays it back as the caption, it comes in fine. So there's a bit of mucking around involved for me to do this for a client. But it's, you think about it, 3 to 4 minute videos by 15 per month. There's no way I would be able to nail her down for a couple of hours each month to sit in front of a camera, or at least sit on a microphone and record something for me. So, from that perspective, it's very, very cool. So, and then you can go up into this is where a lot of the AI stuff is. So removing filler words, and it gives you a list of all the different ones. You'll usually, depending on what you've got in there, so ums and ahs, you just select the ones you want and just remove them.
Can you remove fireman references? I can't see that in there.
No, there's no feature for that. There's no feature. There never will be.
You actually haven't done one in a while, so that's not really fair. No.
I just wait till you're not here, Robert.
Other things you can do, you can put in, and I'll do this with an AI voice transcript. With an AI voice, I have to go through and manually insert time gaps between sentences. Otherwise, it just keeps talking straight over the top of them. Yeah. So it's usually like a 500 millisecond gap. If they made that, so I could just click one button and it would do it at every paragraph, that would make my life so much easier. But at the moment, they don't. You can.
And I would say that's against all tools. That, like, I agree with you. There's just AI still does have a bit of that run through the sentence. It's getting better. I've definitely seen tools where it sort of transcribes and then interjects interesting pauses along the way or breath noises. So that's all coming, and it'll come to Descript too. But I agree with you. There's definitely a downside right now of having some sort of AI voiceover or whatever. Is it just runs through the sentence, and you're like, breathe for a second. Exactly. You're putting in 4 commas. You're like, stop.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the problem. So if we've got this is the client I'm talking about that I do for. So there's a 2-minute 58 video there. That's shorter than normal. but I have to go through and put word gaps in, and I have to also because she's a Chinese Australian lady, so her accent's pretty strong. So it never gets the word Perth right. It comes up as PERS or something weird. So I've always got to go through and correct that. So it's pretty time consuming for you to make some of these videos like to that standard. But, for an editing tool that can transcribe and do a whole pile of other stuff, I still think it's great. Again, I would swap it in an instant with something that did everything in one. But at the moment, that technology or that product is not available. Now, you asked about AI voices, Robert. So up here, you got AI speakers. And then to add a new speaker, you just give it a name. Well, let's say Eran. I don't know if this comes through on the screen big enough, but anyway. And all you have to do is record yourself speaking that.
And then, so for anybody not looking at a screen, it's about, I don't know, it's a paragraph. It's maybe 30 seconds talking.
Yep, it's about 30 seconds. I've sent that text to clients and said, please record me, you speaking this word. And then I played it back into it and it goes in there. So looks like you can upload a file now, which you couldn't before. So that's as easy as it is. And it takes about, it used to take hours to do it. In some cases, half an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours. It's now probably a 2-minute process by the time it processes the voice and does all the other stuff. So, it's great as far as that goes. So, big fan. Any other questions you guys got about it, or I can throw it back to you, the team?
I mean, I'll throw it up on my screen real quick. We're kind of at time here, but I will just show very, very quickly. Let me make sure I'm pulling the right one up here. So what you're seeing on my screen, if you're just listening to us, I mean, obviously you can go back and watch this on YouTube, or Spotify also has the video versions. But this is just the in-browser one, so very similar to what Eran's look like. And what I like is the action drop down at the top here. And then at the bottom here, there's a couple like remove layers, jump to, shorten word gaps, remove filler words that I talked about earlier when it got rid of about a minute and a half's worth of ums and ahs. But if I go to Ask AI, it actually pulls up a whole nother list. And so I tried some of these out. And so there's like publish, summarize, suggest titles, social and blog posts. So I actually did, I didn't share my window. I actually did that. It's fine. On a Word doc where I had to create a blog post. I mean, I took that blog post and I was like, ugh. And first of all, the first word was delve, which was amazing to me that I wasn't even ChatGPT and it did it to me anyway. I took it and threw it over to Claude and I was like, Claude, make this better. And it absolutely came out better. So, a 1-2 punch with different AI tools, you really could take something like creating a blog post, which I frankly really love. The show notes, which I'm showing on here as well, was really great. That is the show notes you normally will see underneath a podcast, where it gives you the timestamps, it gives you a quick summary, and then about 15 timestamps of this is when this happened, this is when this, this subject came up. Yesterday we were talking about all this stuff. Beth was giving examples of how she uses the interview method to accomplish the blank page, right? So it gave that as a timestamp on there. I really, really do love that. In fact, I would say I'm overall very impressed.
Twice. You can delete those.
What's that?
You said twice. Maybe we should delete those. Yes.
I am very impressed with the AI tools on here. I mean, none of them. But I'm not. This is not a knock against Descript. I would say none of the AI summaries that I saw for the blog for the social post, for the blog that I wrote, for the summarizer, none of them are copy and paste and publish. None of them. But to be fair, neither is ChatGPT, neither is Claude really, I'm going to edit everything. Or Eran, what you were just saying is like, you're going to go in there and edit. So I was impressed. I've got to be honest. This is the free side of it. It does say at the top here that I only have 19 more minutes of transcription. This is a 40-minute episode yesterday. So, you get an hour to mess around with. Here's what I would say. If you are making short videos, like Eran's saying, if you're making 30-minute videos and you want to get into like sort of the podcast game, but you don't need to worry about going live, I definitely think if you're in the market and you're going to look at a Restream, which can be Riverside, which can be very expensive and prohibitive, I would definitely look at Descript as a viable solution, because truthfully, you can make a very quick video and you can chop it up in a nice word editor. And you have a lot of cool AI tools that you would normally have. So it could help you repurpose very quickly out to making social posts, out to making blog posts. And, look, the old adage is the same as everybody. Make one piece of content and use it 15 times.
Yeah.
And so that's,
Brian,
the more you can do that, the better off you're going to be. Okay. Any last thoughts on Descript? What do we think?
Something I forgot to mention earlier, Brian, was that I didn't even show you that there is an option. So you're talking about repurposing. When you're in the editor, like I've got 16:9 videos, there's a little setting hidden up on the top where you can flip between 16:9, 9:16, and 1:1. So you can take the one video and resize it for different platforms like YouTube versus TikTok. And there's even got DALL-E built into it. It's not the latest version, but if you wanted to throw a few AI graphics in there, you can as well. So there's a heap of other stuff that I didn't talk about.
Yeah.
I have
to be the one-stop shop platform. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I have a request actually. I would love Descript and all of these other AI forward applications, especially in content creation. Please make your API. I want to see integrations. The more you can keep me in your platform and automate all of my needs, that will make me a customer forever.
Right.
Make an API for your ads. Make an integration for everything. I want to see an integration for Respell. I want to see integration. They do have and they do have an integration for Zapier, but I just want to be able to take whatever platform I'm using and plug it into everything else as part of my production workflow. Because one of the most annoying thing is having to keep moving my stuff all over the place. I just want one place that I can then go wherever and set up an automation to handle all of that. And then I'll put my final eyes on it and publish. That's
hopefully Descript is listening. If they're listening, there you go, Jyunmi. Yeah. Hopefully they'll listen.
Yeah. And Beth, we'll give Beth the last word. She couldn't be with us live today, but she said also agents are coming and those are going to be using APIs too. So yeah, I 1000% agree with that. Okay. Exactly. We were definitely over time on this one. So we're going to wrap it up. But thanks guys for hanging out with us about learning about Descript. Hopefully you found something. I think overall we're saying, go try it out. I mean, there's definitely a lot of use cases where Descript is a great solution, but there's some holes, right? So it just depends on what your use case is, but it could turn out to be a great one for you. Yeah. All right. That's it. That's it for the week. We'll see you guys. Yep. We'll see you next week with a whole bunch of new show episodes. And until then, Jyunmi, take us out.
Aloha.